So this is an example of what we're doing today, where we're doing color and lines and shapes. And you may not have realized that last week you already had a lesson about color, simply where we were looking at color mixing, where we colored together the blue and the yellow, mixing that together to make a ton of different shades of green. Today, the color lesson is focusing more on what we call warm colors and cool colors. So your warm colors, your yellows, oranges, and reds, are going to be one that you kind of think of like a fire or something that's warm. Whereas your green, purple, and especially blue are usually associated with things that are cold. So you are going to get to choose if you're using warm colored tissue paper for our project, or if you're going to use cool colored tissue paper. We'll have it selected there. So that'll be the background part of this art project. Then you're going to be using lines, all kinds of lines, to be making different patterns in your artwork. And lastly, you're going to see that we're not using any geometric shapes today, but rather organic shapes, shapes that we see in nature. After the video, you'll be seeing that we have two whole stations for today, one where you'll be doing the tissue paper and another where you'll be drawing. Here's how you're going to do it. So boys and girls, when you come to the station for the tissue paper, you're going to see these big buckets of watered down glue, and you're going to have these brushes. When you take it and you put it through here, always kind of do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Otherwise, it's going to drip, drip, drip all the way over to your paper. You're going to have already gotten your tissue paper out of this little cup. You don't necessarily have to use all of it. So what you may want to do is just kind of set a few pieces off to the side here and leave this in the container, just so that if there is more, we can use that later and we don't waste any of our tissue paper. So you already saw me go through here. I'm going to do a little dupa, dupa. And now I'm going to start in one corner of my paper. I'm going to brush this on so it's nice and wet. And then I kind of like to, as opposed to trying to pick up each piece, which you can gladly do, I kind of like to just touch my brush to it. It's sort of magical. It picks it right up. I'm never going to put this right on top of the one before, because then I'm just going to end up with this thick mess. I kind of like to put it next to it. In no way does it need to end up being like a grid or something like that, but it's just so that you can kind of see how the colors overlap, but also we're covering it up without being all in one section. If when you pick it up, you do notice that there's multiple pieces, you can just pick it off. When you do though, you want, do you see how that just happened where it got all like gooky, like where it did that? You can try and flatten it out, or you can just lovingly say, you're going down flat, mister. What I don't want is to have this wad of tissue paper, like a tissue paper ball right here on my thing. At this point, you're just going to continue on getting gluey stuff on different parts of your paper and continuing to pick up pieces of tissue paper until the whole thing is filled. When you are finished, you are going to end up with this gorgeous piece of artwork. Notice that I do have a few more pieces of tissue paper left in my cup, so I'm just going to set that off to the side for someone else to use. Your hands are most likely going to be pretty sticky when you're finished, so just bring your brush over to the sink where we can wash it. But remember, towards your shirt to make it squirt, towards the wall to stop it all, and please don't have the water rushing out. Just get your hands clean and move on to your other station. Now over at the leaf station, I'm going to have a whole bunch of examples there of different organic shapes and leaves, and you're going to be drawing them. If we look at this leaf, you'll see that it's almost like I have a stem, and then if you look at the red lines, it's almost like their arms reaching up towards the sky. They are not going out sideways. If you look here and you think of a person, the arms are not going straight out. It's like the arms are reaching up. And when you look at a leaf, you'll see that. We're not doing our leaves coming out like that. They are going to be moving upwards. As far as the leaves go, I usually kind of like to think of it as a football. That it's a little bit of a football that's on an angle, and I'm doing almost like I've got my arm reaching up there for the middle vein. I'm doing kind of like a rainbow and then a smile. You can also think of it like an eyeball. I know this is all very strange, where you have that football shape or that eyeball shape. I've got the center vein, like the arm reaching up, and then I have those two sides there. So that's how I drove this one. This type of a leaf has more of a rounded top on it, where almost like it's like a teardrop. So as you see with the red lines on the left, I'm doing the line with those veins, and then I'm putting that teardrop shape. Here, let me show it to you a little bit slower. So I'm thinking like a teardrop. So you have a lot of leaves that are shaped like footballs, and then it's common to see leaves that are shaped a little bit more like a teardrop. I have a feeling when you go outside today, you might start to notice that. And of course, there's thousands of different shapes of leaves even beyond that. The ones that I saw another one outside like this, where it's like the arms are reaching up for each the veins, and then it's kind of like a skinny little leaf for each one. So as I mentioned before, you're going to be doing your warm and cool, or you're going to be drawing the leaf that you're going to be the branch. So I just used that really big marker to draw the entire stem, and I went from the bottom all the way to the top. Now what I'm doing is kind of drawing that arm going out, and then I'm making my football eyeball thing. Here I'm having the arm reach out a little bit short, but I can draw the vein too, and then I'm drawing my football eyeball. You're going to continue doing this using the really big marker. Now, when it comes to adding your details, there's two different types of Sharpies. There's some that's super, super fine and will make a really thin line for you. And then there's some that are kind of medium width. You'll probably have fun experimenting with those. Now, the Zentangle designs, this is where we're taking lines to make patterns. I have a whole bunch of examples on the tables, and all you have to do is choose one and just kind of try and copy it. It could be when you do it that it's not going to look exactly like it, like because I used a different width of Sharpie, it doesn't look exact like it, but it's just kind of fun to try different ones. It could be that when you're starting, that you're going to find that you are doing some that are really involved and they're taking a long time. It might be that just in order to keep track of time, that if that's happening to you, I'm going to have you start to do some that maybe go a little bit faster. So I kind of went shopping around. I found this one that just has straight lines with some diagonals. This has thin lines with little polka dots on them. This is just straight up lines. This is curvy lines that are just repeated. Here's some plus signs. Now, if your swirl starts to look like that pen is dying, please do not keep using that same Sharpie. I do not want you using dying Sharpies. So in the end here, my friends, we'll have one station for people making warm and cool backgrounds. So we'll have half of the class working on that, while the other one is working on making their branch out using lines. Eventually, it will all get cut out. We'll paste the whole thing together, and in the end, you guys, you will have learned about warm and cool colors, because you're so smart. You'll have learned about all different types of lines and lines being used to put together a pattern. And lastly, you will know about shapes, that there are organic shapes in nature. Have fun!